Today's first reading is the only time in the church year when we hear from Paul's letter to Philemon. It's the briefest letter in the New Testament, 355 words to be exact. You can read it in 5 minutes. Philemon was a wealthy Christian who was part of the Kavookjian community that St. Paul founded. He was probably converted by St. Paul previously. He was wealthy because he owned slaves, obviously. His slave, Onesimus, had run away, which was a crime punishable by death. But Onesimus, in the meantime, had found his way to St. Paul, who converted him, baptized him, and welcomed him into the Christian community. And after a while, Paul figured that Onesimus should probably return home to Philemon. So Paul wrote a letter ahead of time to Philemon, encouraging him to welcome his runaway slave back without punishment. But Paul goes even further than that. He tells Philemon, now that Onesimus is a Christian, he is like my own son. Therefore, treat him as your own brother. He reminds Philemon that Christians, followers of Christ, have to treat each other with respect and dignity, even if a person is a slave. Remember, Paul had previously written in his letter to the Galatians that in Christ there is no male or female, free man or slave. Okay? All are equal in dignity before God. So Philemon is encouraged to treat his former slave as an equal. That's pretty challenging. Paul also deals with the other issue that Philemon basically lost his property. So Paul agrees to pay him whatever is necessary out of his own pocket. It's an amazing letter from St. Paul that gives us a good look into the issue of slavery in the first century and how Christians dealt with that issue. You know, from time to time, the Gospels remind us that our way of doing things, of treating certain people, is contrary to the teachings of Christ. Whether we're talking about our enemies or those who are indebted to us, those who are begging, those who are incarcerated, Christians are to treat people differently from the way society treats them. When we look at other people, regardless of their status, regardless of their circumstances, we are to see them as Christ sees them, not as the rest of society sees them. That means we have to treat all people with respect and dignity. That belongs to them by the fact that they are children of God. In light of this, it would be good for us, and this is the relevance of a personal letter like this, we are encouraged to take time to think of someone with whom we struggle. Maybe a person who we differ with. It might be a relative or a co-worker. It might be somebody who's done us wrong. Maybe it's even a former spouse. Whoever that person might be, it would be good to try and look at them through the eyes of Christ, as St. Paul is encouraging Philemon to look at his slave as an equal through the eyes of Christ. Who do we really see in that particular person? Can we treat them respectfully as a child of God? Can we really look upon such people as our equals? Can we show mercy and compassion to those who are problematic? The challenge, I think, is found in this letter. Finally, we don't ever know what happened to Onesimus. Did he go back to his master? Did Philemon welcome him as St. Paul urged? Was he punished for running away? We cannot know that. But we do know that St. Paul had the courage and the integrity to speak honestly to his friend Philemon about the challenges that come with being a Christian. We can only hope that Philemon followed through.